So hello world, my name is Amelia. Um, this is just another quick update video. I say this a million times, I'm going to try not to make this long because the information should be pretty simple to convey. I just felt I needed to do a little bit of an update. Today is Tuesday, the 11th of May. And I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm pretty sure, I don't think this is going to change, but I'm pretty sure that I've come to a pretty difficult, it's kind of a climax of a problem. I've made videos before talking about what was going on with me at work and the difficulties I've been having. But what happened yesterday was just a really, really bad thing that I don't even know where to begin, or even really where to how it got to where it did. I hate covering up my chin, but I do that anyways. So yesterday I came into work and everything was generally okay. But I don't know, maybe an hour or so before I was supposed to get off, I worked 9 to 6 yesterday. I don't know, maybe about an hour and a half. Once again, my supervisor bleeped me on my phone and asked me to come into the office for a discussion. I definitely was not expecting what happened when I got into the office. Basically, and I thought maybe they were just going to inform me of some issues, but no. They didn't do that. Instead, they were there to have me written up again, which would mean that I have now been written up twice within a very short time period. And it very much upsets me, because I'm pretty sure I did that video about the first time I got written up just a few weeks ago. It very much upset me because it was petty. What they were writing me up for was so petty. I have told them about the stuff I've been through. I very much shared with my supervisor some personal things. Told her how much I had been scarred in the past by situations. And it's just another one of those instances where I wish she understood what she's actually doing to me. I came into the office and once again it was Joe and her. And they said, we want to talk about an incident that occurred. So a few days ago, let me just kind of give a little bit of a timeline. So it was about a week ago that I was getting really fed up with, because I do fulfillment, I was getting really fed up with how overloaded the staging area was getting. I mean, it was just overflowing, things all over the place, and I will be perfectly honest, to the point that it was becoming a work hazard. It was a tripping hazard. I had scraped and bruised my legs and arms many times trying to get around junk that should not be there. And I had just gone up to my supervisor and said, hey, could I have permission to move that one shelf? Initially, I had built and laid out the entire fulfillment area, which was behind customer service. I originally designed it. There's some great pictures of what it used to look like. Just because I'm doing these on my phone, it's not exactly easy for me to show those, but I had a great eye for variety of staging locations, barcode scannable tags. I mean, I really honestly felt like it functioned. It initially functioned very, very well. Again, it's one of those things where I'm very, very good analytically. I'm good with those kind of things, but I'm not going to go into that. And I just asked her, I said, may I move that shelf over there? Because, so there's 3 shelves. There's one on the left side, so it's just this big bay area. There's one on the left side, one on the right, and then one on the back wall. Originally, there was about 2 or 3 other shelves that all got taken apart and removed by the person who's on lead fulfillment, who basically got the job I probably should have had. And the best that I can come to understanding why she does it is because she OCD. That's like I say, she's the incumbent asshole. I was having problems with her, but after the conversation I had a few weeks ago and I was still kind of struggling at work, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try to hold that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, to heart, and I started trying to just do whatever I could to please the lead on fulfillment. So I just played along, let her have her way, let her do what she wants to do. And I kind of think it worked. She did seem to get a little more cooperative with me, understanding, just an all around, it seemed like things were a little better. Even yesterday morning, I come to find out that she even printed new barcodes and she stuck it on the wall and she was very proud about it. And she was like, look, see, I made those barcodes for you. And honestly, I was like, you know what? It's not my barcode, but I don't have a problem with that. Unlike you, I don't have the problem of it has to be my barcode. It just needs to be a functional barcode. And yes, I get a little OCD over the way she makes her barcodes because of my analytical designing side of my brain, but for the most part, I was just like, look, it's cool. It's a big barcode. You got to paste it on the wall. I'm happy. Thank you for doing that. I acknowledged the positive change that she made. She went in, I was trying to work with her over the last several days. And then she went and so the other day, okay, back to where I was going. A couple weeks ago, so I had asked my supervisor, I said, hey, may I move that shelf? Because with all the stuff in the bulk area, that's just getting piled up against the shelf. I said, I told her, I said, I would like to move it over somewhere else, so I'll try to end it there. And she basically told me, she sounded like she liked the idea, but her answer to me was, well, I'm going to say no for now, because supposedly corporate is supposed to be designing us a new staging area, a new fulfillment area. They're going to make one, which I'm like, okay, ooh, great and almighty corporate. So I never really heard anything about time wasting or other things to do, or the answer was not right now because of corporate. And I said, okay, I'll leave it at that. I then went on to doing my job, and of course I hated it. Ever since I think COVID has been, the numbers have been starting to go down. Things got a little better on fulfillment, so I was starting to adapt. And then of course, and then I got written up a couple weeks ago that first time, and I was really upset about that because I was trying to get my accommodations. I really feel it was unfair, but whatever, like clockwork. Well, so a few days ago, I was talking to our lead, and like I said, I was trying to make peace with her. And she sat there and told me, I was like, hey, we were talking about things. And she's like, oh yeah, well, supposedly corporate is supposed to be making something. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, we can't really trust that corporate's ever going to do anything. You know how long it's been between like actually having them do something and when they tell us they're going to do something? I'm like, there's usually months and months gap. I'm like, we can't just rely on corporate. I said we need to at least do something small that helps us now. Again, it kind of goes back to what I've said before about you need to take care of the fire on the stove before you sit there and say, I need to fix my roof. So I asked her, I said, well, what do you think about me moving that shelf away from the wall? So there was a huge difference here. What I had asked my supervisor the week prior was, can I move the shelf almost 15 feet? She said, not now. Okay, given. It was a no. I took it as an in the moment no. However, sorry, there's some truck outside. I'm trying to figure out what it is. So I had asked the lead, I said, what do you think about me just pulling it away from the wall? So the reason I had asked that was I was like, look, I'm not moving it like I want to actually move it. But I'm like, can I just pull away from the wall and then we can just access the shelf from the backside? So even if there is tons of stuff leaning up, against the shelf, I can still, garbage truck. we can still get to the backside. And she literally answered, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And then of course she said, but we're always so busy to do it. And I said, okay, well, if I ever have free time, I'll think about it. So, okay, that's how we left the conversation. Once again, this is the person who, as far as what I've noticed, she's made changes to fulfillment and to these areas without ever getting any management approval. Last year, I did tons of this stuff without any manager approval. It was always kind of a gray area. So a few days ago, the weather got kind of nasty. We were busy in the morning. And that evening, she even asked me, she was like, hey, if you get some time tonight, she said, if only the orders are taken care of, could you please do the refunds for all of these orders I pulled out of the locker? And I said, okay, I'll try to do that. I also had figured, well, if I get time, I would like to pull that shelf away from the wall. And I did. Orders kind of dried out up about 7 o'clock. We were, I think I was off at 9. So it took me a few minutes. The shelf is not that heavy. I just had to kind of slide it over. Yeah, it was a big, heavy metal shelf, but good thing is there wasn't anything on it. So it's easy to kind of pick it up and move it like 1 foot. I slid it away from the wall, just enough room to be able to walk behind it. I just printed some labels, which I have I've done the labels enough time that I eliminated the time wasting part of it by having to design them on the shift. So I made this repetitive, I made a template basically on my phone where I just punch in what range and then I hit print and it pushes it out on the printer. Very simple, very easy. Took me a few minutes and I relabeled the whole shelf on the opposite side. I didn't make new labels that what I mean is I didn't change the numbering system, which people have kind of gotten mad at me from changing number systems in the past. And And I left it at that, and I also did the returns for the locker. Yesterday, when they want to call me in to talk to me, they said, we're writing you up because you moved that shelf. And then their basis for it was, your supervisor told you no, and you did it anyways. And I tried to defend myself by saying, look, I had asked her specifically doing a major move, first off. And second off, I took it as an in-the-moment no, not a, oh no, never. My understanding was a no in that moment. And, I mean, the analogy I can give to this is the equivalent of them saying, don't, it's like having a friend who you go to and say, hey, would you like me to go buy you a cupcake? And the friend says, no, I do not want a cupcake. And you say, okay, fine, I won't go buy you a cupcake. And then about a week later, you happen to be in an opportunity to buy a cupcake, but you're not by your friend. So you go and get them a cupcake. You give them a cupcake a week later, and then the answer is, I said I don't want a cupcake. That's the equivalent of what happened. I took the no as a, no, I don't want a cupcake right now. And then a week later, I'm like, hey, I have no orders, nothing else to do. I'm going to move this shelf. And I had talked it over with the lead. I didn't do it as a on my own decision. And I get written up as if, and the write-up was specifically for, they said, by not following my supervisor's decisions. And then once I had that as a defense, then it spread, then they made the issue bigger, because even though I had a good alibi to why it happened, I'm then being told, well, and they grew it. And then they said, well, there's tons of installs that need to get pulled. Why didn't you do any of those? And then I'm just like, okay, fine. I guess I could have prioritized myself on install pulls. That's one occurrence. And then, of course, the ASM sat there, and he even tried to sit there and say, well, you sat there and told me that you get distracted. Yeah, I have ADHD. But you do realize writing someone up with ADHD for getting distracted doesn't mean you're going to fix their ADHD. Like, you're literally doing the opposite of what you should do with somebody who gets distracted. If you want to chuck it up as me getting distracted because I have ADHD, fine. But you're going about this wrong. I started crying in the office and literally left, closing the door behind me, saying, just crying my eyes out and saying, I don't know what I do wrong around here. Because I don't. I have BPD, borderline personality disorder. It makes it difficult because even if my supervisor did say to me, no, as a never, I misunderstood. And again, that's not how you deal with an employee that does that. I'm not trying to justify what I did. I realize that moving the shelf probably, again, I believe it was in a very much of a light gray area. But I also found out that 2 weeks ago, somebody that I thought was never going to do anything wrong got fired for sexual harassment over one little incident I heard about. And what's funny is the whole thing does not sound like either one of the people I know. The other person was in the middle of they had already put in their 2-week notice, or they had put it in, And as far as I could tell, she was the one who complained about this other coworker about her harassing her. As far as I can tell, I think this coworker was misleading to me. And they're not maybe as kind as I thought they were if they were going, because literally the sexual harassment came off of something that I think was, again, in my opinion, it wasn't like, I'm not trying to defend. I mean, both these coworkers are my friends. And yes, it was wrong. She basically, as I understand it, gave her a pat on the butt. And I understand both these coworkers. The one, yeah, that was probably inappropriate. The other coworker should have known better. However, I think in this incident, it's something where my other coworker should have been a little more obvious and explaining why it was not appropriate. As far as I'm aware, she never said anything of, you know, hey, I didn't appreciate that. Because I'm pretty sure if she made herself clear, she wouldn't have, her other, again, it was a I know what my other coworker, she's constantly, she does that. She's very energetic. She doesn't touch people inappropriately. She doesn't say inappropriate things. I've talked to her personally, and she's been very kind to me. I just don't think again, I think it's a misunderstanding. She felt too comfortable with this coworker. And again, inappropriate situation. It shouldn't have happened, but at the same time, I believe that letting her go like they did was a lot. To put it simply, I think what's going on at my work lately has been an insurgence of, because our store manager a few weeks ago quit with a very short notice to the entire store. And then we got a new store manager in. And honestly, I feel like what's probably happening, there is probably an insurgence of write-ups and discipline going on around my store. All because, and this is not the time for this to be happening. Again, I'm making this a much bigger issue. It isn't just about me. But then coming back to me. 2 write-ups in a row within a short time period. You're not going to get me to be a better employee because of that. Yeah, sure, you wrote me up for being late a few times. It got me to change my behavior because, yes, that's something I can change. I can do my best to not be late anymore. But when you write me up for something like a misunderstanding and something that was so easily fixed, and then sitting there saying, well, you were distracted, you were wasting time, that's not appropriate. After that happened yesterday, I immediately went in the back and I submitted a request to go on mental health leave again. I can't go back to work, at least that work. I didn't want to do this because I really cannot afford my bills on 60% of my paycheck. But I'm going to seriously push for this because I shared some very personal things with my supervisor, and then look at what it did to me. Came back and bit me in the ass. And now I'm getting treated poorly again. Briefly, I saw my therapist today, and I did my very best to have a conversation with him regarding deep-rooted issues, not surface problems. Because I always believe that every time I've talked to my therapist, it's always scraped the surface issues off, but it still leaves a wound. We need to dig deeper, so we did. And there was a lot I dug up that, funny enough, went back to basically puberty for me. we worked through some of the issues, and I feel a whole lot better. Funny enough, I came out of the session because we did EMDR, which for anyone out there that's dealing with grief or loss, I think EMDR is an amazing technique used in the psychological industry for helping. It's amazing how the brain can process grief and stuff like that. And it's going to be a long journey for me because I have a lot to unpack. It's a compact amount of issues. But yeah, we went back and I really discovered where a lot of my deep hurts of rejection and fear of not being loved go to the point that literally I can remember waking up. Well, not really. I wasn't in a hypnosis or anything, but now I kind of think back to it, it felt like it a little bit. But when it was over, I literally was sitting there shaking. I literally felt like my 12-year-old self again. And I was literally sitting there looking down at my lap and looking at my chest. And my therapist was like, you know, what are you feeling right now? And I told him, I said, I feel like I'm 12 again. I said, even though my brain is full of memories from the last 20 years, I feel like a 12-year-old right now. I'm not going to get too much into it, but it was a very, very interesting experience. Literally to the point that I almost couldn't even remember who I was, my gender, any of that stuff. And I remember he was sitting there like, you know, he was trying to get me grounded, but then I looked at him and I literally said, "Can you tell me who I am?" And he did. He was like, "You're Amelia. You're a girl." Which, it was amazing to look at myself because it really helped make me feel coherent with my body. It's like, wow, like this is my body. Like I'm so glad. It makes me happy. Anyways, I'm gonna leave this video here. I did not mean for this to turn into a 30-minute video, but there was a lot to unpack, especially since I didn't focus on telling what happened yesterday to my therapist. I was focusing on deeper rooted issues. But I definitely know that I am not mentally well. I need some time to myself again, and then taking the next step of starting to look for a new job. I'll go on leave right now so I can start healing. But then in the next 2 or 3 months, I need to, hopefully in July when I graduate the CNA class, I can do more. Anyways, so nice to see you all. I hope you're doing great. Don't forget to like and follow. I know I have completely changed up my format of videos I've been doing. This has been a little easier to do. At least it keeps videos coming. I do want to plan on start getting back to maybe doing some more of my topic videos. I did recently realize I was talking last year, I did a video talking about gender swaps in media. And I uploaded this whole video talking about what I wanted to do, and I haven't really had an opportunity to actually do an episode. There's a TV series I'm watching right now because there is an episode from it that I want to analyze, but I haven't been able to find what episode in the TV series it was when I was younger, but I definitely think I want to do that. Anyways, I'll see you all later. Wish me luck. I wish you luck. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye now.